What is up, guys, and welcome to a bit of a dev blog discussion video. This is kind of in the same vein as my poll rundown videos, except this time we are going to be looking over the development blog for raid rewards. Raids were announced quite a while ago and were promised to be out sometime this summer, so we'll see how Jagex is doing on that. This is the first thing we've heard about raids, at least in a significant way, in a long time. So let's jump right into it and check out these planned rewards. Of course, all of these rewards will be on a poll in the near future. That's how these dev blogs typically work. This is kind of the introduction to the player base. See what you like. Things tend to change a little bit based on feedback, and I definitely have some feedback for Jagex, as well as you will, I'm sure. Make sure to tweet your favorite JMod, and of course, respond in this forum thread. The quick find code, as you can see on screen right now, will also be in the description of the video below. Let's jump right into it, starting off with quite a big thing. Ronan jumped right into this. No holds barred. Kodai robes. These are going to be basically new best in slot magic gear, ahead of what is currently Arim's robes. Third Age Mage, I believe, is either tied or very close to Arim's robes, but doesn't beat it in terms of attack bonus, which is, as we all know, really all that anyone cares about in terms of magic robes. The one piece of Third Age that does beat Arim's is the Third Age Mage hat. I believe the Kodai hat is also being beat by that, but you guys would have to tell me. Regardless, we have some interesting stats on these things. In terms of improvement over Arim's, again, looking at the stat that we pretty much only care about, the hat improves from Arim's by +1, the robe top improves by +5, and the robe skirt improves by +3. So not huge increases, but definitely notable, definitely better. In terms of defense, those have all been scaled up as well. I won't waste your time going into every single one, but all of these have gone up. So definitely better than Arim's. There's also a nice little prayer bonus tacked onto each of these. Interestingly enough, not sure what that could mean. That could be a little insight into the lore behind raids, who knows. Regardless, definitely a significant update. No matter how you slice it, this could be pretty interesting. Moving on down, we have the Dragon Sword. Now, this is something that I looked at and kind of was like, okay, you know, fill in more slots of, like, dragon stuff that hasn't come into the game yet. And then I thought about it, and then I looked it up. This could be potentially a weird update. Basically, it's going to be a D-Simi with slightly reduced stats that stabs. And I mean slightly. The strength bonus is down, I believe, 2. And let me just double check here. Strength bonus is down by 3, and the attack bonus is down by 2. So you're stabbing instead of slashing, which is, as most of us know, a lot less things in RuneScape are weak to stab. So it is an option, but I think the important thing here to recognize is that this is an item that does not require any sort of quest, and it's basically comparable to the D-Simi. So I would anticipate some sort of nerf, or perhaps adding in the fact that you have to complete Monkey Madness, something like that. Being able to wield this sword right away as soon as you hit 60 attack is a little strange. Granted, it's coming from what should be an extremely high-level content, so kind of an interesting little dynamic there, just based on the weapon itself. Not even including the special attack, which is the first for Oldschool, a prayer-breaking special attack, and I don't mean like the D-Simi. Literally, it will ignore protection prayers. And if it doesn't ignore your protection prayer, it does 25% increased accuracy and damage, which is pretty sweet. Definitely a special attack that could be useful. You can see people rushing with this. It might even be a choice for, honestly, like PKers, like hybrids, things like that. Hybrid fighting, especially deep wieldy, no honor type stuff with overheads. I can see Pures getting a pretty significant use out of this, especially because the special attack only costs 40 energy. So definitely something to look out there. I'm not sure if it's, I don't know enough about the Pure world and kind of the lower leveled content to really make a full opinion on whether or not that's like okay. But I have my doubts about that. Moving onward, we're getting the Dragon Throwing Axes and the Dragon Plate Body. These very simple Dragon Throwing Axes I don't expect to be in the meta, except for this special attack, which freezes the target for 5 seconds. It's kind of the equivalent to bolas in RS3, which came out during the Vine Whip update, which was basically the Kraken Tentacle update for us. But interestingly enough, it can freeze your opponent, so we have some sort of crowd control for range now. Could potentially change things. I'm not sure how valued these will be, but perhaps in the big multi-clan kind of world, they might be useful. I'm not sure. And then, of course, the Dragon Plate Body, which came to RuneScape through Tormented Demons and Wild Gothic Sleeps originally. Oldschool plans to bring it through raids. My only concern with Dragon Plate Body, regardless of stats, it's not going to be a useful piece of equipment. We all can kind of surmise that. It's going to be slightly better than the D-Chain. My only concern is that Jagex continues to crush the price of the D-Chain body, making those bosses that drop it completely useless. Originally, the D-Chain was crashing because killing the bosses wasn't worth it, so, just kind of no one killed them, and no one wanted a D-Chain, really. That doesn't make sense, really, but the D-Chain was crashing. Then, and it wasn't doing so well. It was bad. It was actually 6 mil for a while in Oldschool, but then it started to crash because Jagex was like, hey, these monsters suck. Let's give them a buff. And by these monsters, I mean the Calphite Queen, mainly. And, of course, the introduction of the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil did not help as well. But Jagex doubled the drop rate of the D-Chain from Calphite Queen, which, of course, reduced the price of the D-Chain by pretty much half. Kind of what you're going to expect. That's what happened. But yeah, that happened. So hopefully you need to add something to the D-Chain. I would hope that, Jagex has been pretty good about inputting stuff like the D-Plate in good ways. Like the new boots, making sure the old boots are required to make them. Stuff like that, keeping the mid-tier gear in the meta for making the high-tier gear. Really important and often overlooked mechanic, but hopefully they continue that trend. Otherwise, the poor D-Chain, we can only lament. Here is one of the biggest things in this dev blog, forgotten prayers. These are basically all the prayers that we've been voting on, whether they've come from sailing or other things. Jagex has not only added a couple of new prayers to these prayers, these kind of, Augury and Rigor are the ones to really point out. I think they offered them from Nightmare Zone a while ago. Regardless, the player base has consistently shot them down because Augury and Rigor are crazy strong. But here we are again, and Jagex is attempting to get Augury and Rigor into the game, alongside a bunch of other prayers, including Preserve, which is the same as Berserk, which would basically boosted stats last 20% longer. I'm not sure if that percentage is the same, but the effect of activating a prayer to make your boosted stats stay up longer, same deal. Poison Absorb, completely new to RuneScape in all facets as far as I'm concerned. Poison will drain your prayer points instead of your hit points. That's kind of interesting. So presumably having the prayer up will take prayer away from you, and then as well, once the poison ticks, it'll tick off that much prayer. Not sure how exactly that's going to work, but there you go. Of course, Augury boosts magic accuracy and defense by 25%, and just to remind you, the current prayer is 15% and 15%. You can have whatever the highest magic boosting prayer is, shame on me for not remembering, and Steel Skin or whatever it is. And you can get 15%, so that's a 10% increase. It's pretty significant. Divine Grace, running drains prayer instead of run energy, another interesting little thing. That I can imagine not necessarily draining your prayer as it's activated, so with the Poison Absorb and the Divine Grace, and soon the Venom Absorb, not really sure how those are going to work, but they seem interesting, so I'm okay with them. And then, of course, Rigor boosts range attack by 20%, range strength by 23%, and defense by 25%. Big deal there because it's also attack and strength, and, of course, defense. Again, definitely helping range tanks out in a big way. Not that they need it. Being a former range tank, I can tell you they didn't need it. But maybe this will... maybe raids are the place that Jagex will manage to get these prayers into the game. They've been trying for so long, and it's clear to be one of those updates that I don't know if necessarily the player base is please give us Augury and Rigor, but more like Jagex has just kept putting them on polls, and they kept getting denied, and here they are again. So there you go. The interesting thing about the Forgotten Prayers is the method of unlocking, which I kind of like. You basically get a scroll, and you can choose one of the 6 prayers, and you unlock it. So I can imagine a lot of people go straight for Rigor and Augury, and then probably Preserve, and then slowly maybe unlock the other ones if you're lucky enough to get the scroll 6 times or buy one 6 times. God knows how expensive these are going to be. Should be interesting. It's the first time I think a prayer has ever technically been tradable. So Rigor and Augury definitely going to run the price for the scroll. I would imagine somewhere in the ballpark of like 10 to 20 mil long term. This is a powerful thing. Maybe even more than that. It's hard to say. Could be even as much as like 30 to 50. It could be interesting. I don't think anyone saw the D Warhammer being 70 mil consistently. So you never know. This could be a very, 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 very valuable item. And although it is a one-time unlock, there's plenty more to get later. So it does have staying power. Should be interesting. Last but not least, the Ancient Insignia, which is basically a new mechanic that Jagex has mentioned in the past that they would like to introduce. Now, again, we have a lot of strange names in here that could point to some lore behind the raids, who knows. Regardless, TLDR on Insignias, they fit in your ammo slot and they give you effects. So they kind of like, you know, melee and magic don't make use of the slots unless you're hybriding, of course. But basically filling in your last equipment slot to benefit you. And these insignias do various things. I won't bother you with the details. They boost range, they boost magic, they boost your prayers, they boost your defense, and finally, the one that's actually interesting and kind of a new mechanic, it causes your special attack to regenerate twice as fast when out of combat. Not sure where this one would come in handy, but I can definitely see, obviously, all of these are best in slot, seeing as they're brand new. The Yumi one has an interesting effect of like splintering and hitting to up to 2 additional targets. So there's some interesting stuff going on here. Again, these are all best in slot. It doesn't seem like they're giving stats that are too crazy. So power creep, always an issue, but I'm not so worried about it here. Granted, every little time they sneak in, you know, a couple more bonuses, it gets worse and worse. But I don't think it's really that big of a deal here with these insignias. I think it's just kind of interesting. But maybe I'm blinded by the interesting insignias. Either way, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, I am streaming all the time over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/BarrowsBOY. You can find a link in the description or click the annotation that popped up in the middle of the video. I'm sorry, it's annoying and no. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.